Welcome to the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast. In these special edition episodes of Creative Lifebook interviews, I'll meet with authors of the book and discuss their creative life hacks. In this episode, I connect with artist. Are you an artist?
Yes, my name is Veronique, and my creative artist tree hack is in the space of civic engagement. So finding ways to engage creatively.
Yes, and the reason why I paused is because typically I can just say, oh, we're here to meet with artists, blah, blah, blah. But however, I was reading through all of everything that you love to do, and I wasn't able to put a pin on exactly what I was going to call you. So this is Veronique, and she is the author of chapter 62, Be Creative with Frequency Music and Spreadsheets. So my very first question is, can you help us with Frequency Music and Spreadsheets, the title of your chapter?
Thank you. Yes. So thank you so much. It's so great to be here. When I sat down to write for the Creative Lifebook, it was very much a place of what do I most want to share? Because I'm not technically an artist who paints, but I'm very creative. I sing, I dance, and I was like, well, if I'm going to be a part of a book, I most want to share how I am most creative now as in my life. And that now has shown up in the form of frequency music, which is vibrational frequencies where, depending whether I want to relax or be elevated, I've found a couple of artists and I intentionally will play vibrational music, especially when I'm on a keyboard and typing. And so in my chapter, I highlighted a couple of really great pioneering leaders, Barry Goldstein, and Listening to Smile, Ian Morris. And I just thought, that's kind of something cool and different to share with people in terms of a hack, to just remember that our brains are always listening. And yes, it's fun to listen to music, modern music with words and lyrics that we know that are cool, but vibrationally, it's like giving yourself a little bit of a, energetic massage before you do something or while you're doing something. And then the creative spreadsheet, that is my creative hack for whether I'm reading a book or learning something or something in current events. I just reached to create a practice of, okay, so if I highlight or I take notes, capture them, take the time, and actually in a spreadsheet, create columns where I might have, for example, and we can talk about it more, but here's the creative hack. The idea is to have information not just sit in a book, or in a podcast or something, to actually capture it, put it in a column, and then treat it as almost like a walking meditation where you're visually going from column to column and you've labeled each column. So if there's a quote, for example, believe in yourself. The next column might be, well, reflect on that, and so it becomes like a digital journal, and it takes you to a point of ideation and does this make me want to take an action? And it just sits there creatively, but also something that you can come back to more intentionally, be like, okay, well, now am I ready to create an action plan? So it becomes this holding spreadsheet, much like you would hold an accounting budget, but you're doing it with information, and it just takes it forward rather than having it live wherever you first encountered it. So
that's interesting. I forgot to do something, so I forgot to introduce myself for my brand new listeners that might stop by here. But I'm your host, Caroline, and I'm filming right now for my Clearwater, Florida studio. And also, I wanted just to talk about this book, and this is what we're referring to when we say chapter. She's chapter 62. I think I'm chapter 57 because I wrote a chapter as well. But the Creative Lifebook is full of reflections on the art of living a fully expressed life. And it's written by Jessica Hughes, along with 65 thought leaders, wellness experts, artists, and creatives. And the foreword is written by Dr. Joe Vitale. And you can literally turn to any, page in the book. This is her page, chapter 62. And you can read about these life hacks. So back to what you were talking about with the spreadsheets. So have you ever taken the Colbys? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Say that again. A Colby?
Yeah, Kolbe. Okay. Colby is just like it's not really a personality test. It's a way that you work with systems, I believe. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, wow, you are probably a really big fact finder. Like you like to have the facts on things, whereas me, I just like to jump in and do something. A spreadsheet, that would be a lot of work. But
That's why
love that, people who love that, because not everybody's the same. So people who love that would really be interested in learning more about how you're doing that.
yes. And me too. I mean, I am not an accounting person, which for me, that was the original purpose of the spreadsheet, is to do, but I came across it through a life performance coach who taught us to have different roles and responsibilities to help just define things. And so that just got me into spreadsheets. And then COVID happened and I was reading Cast, a serious book by Isabella Wilkerson, and I had all these notes and historical facts, and I was like, let me just start typing in a couple of these into the spreadsheet. So it just kind of like that was a creative process where I was processing historical facts, emotions I was having, and I was like, let me just make it purposeful. The intention was to have purpose, like to be able to then add value, but it doesn't have to technically be in a creative spreadsheet. I mean, it could be in a room with large post-its where people are somehow writing and expressing themselves. The idea is to not just have words and facts stay in their original location, that it actually serves a purpose, that whether you're processing an emotion or whether you're getting to the point of, oh, this inspired an idea. Well, don't just have the idea, put it somewhere so that you can then have it grow and share it. And so that's
yeah,
a little bit of it. Yeah.
I think I do that in the form of a Google document or actually on a canvas, because I do a lot of writing on canvases. Not all my paintings, but I do a lot of that kind of writing in there. Yeah. Then another thing I noticed upon reading your chapter, if you go into the depths of it, it's the We Me Inspire Action Kit and the Me We concept.
Yes. So that is part of my creativity that came before the spreadsheets, but just feeling and living, these last few decades of, wow, there's just so much information out there that technically I'm a little responsible for as it relates to social challenges, the environment, and how can I create a process for myself and then share it with others. And that's outside of politics, outside of an individual nonprofit group, even beyond voting. So it kind of started there. And then I was just inspired, of course, by the first words of the United States Constitution of "We the People." And it was like, well, yes, we the people, but within we, there's a me. And that was a creative visual that one day when I was just looking at that "We the people," I was like, that's interesting that the W, if you turn it over, it becomes an M. So then it could be me, the people. And that just started opening up this way of processing and creating gatherings in the form of happy hours and power hours where, I've got a team of people that I want to work with, but initially it's me doing research of pulling together different sources of information on a common topic or interdisciplinary. So that's the Inspire Action Kit. And the whole idea is to make things more efficient. So for example, for Earth Day this year, there was a kit created. It's just digital documents on Canva, but pulling together sources related to trees from, the Sierra Club, Drawdown, PBS, just like a whole slew of different sources that otherwise people may or may not know about. And at least you have it all in one place. And within that, there are guided reflection questions. And then you're just, possibly a link to a creative spreadsheet where people are able to start ideating. So it just starts to, it's just another creative tool, but that's actually bringing in curated content from multiple sources.
And what do you do? What's your occupation? Just curious.
My occupation right now is that I'm a social entrepreneur, inviting people to create this collaborative, the MeWe People Planet Collaborative. My professional background is in communications, working 10 years in professional sports. So that's where I get a lot of the kind of team and event management type background. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm at a creative place of basically inviting people to start a nonprofit organization or a public benefit corporation to do this. And so the collaborative vision is that it's part think tank with an advisory board that would have about 10 different seats. So one of the seats is a creative seat. I would love for the Creative Lifebook authors to rotate in and out of that seat. One is athletic, one is for contemplative, basically your mind wellness, all those different community, as well as business. So just all these different aspects of community and information that ultimately need to be coordinated a little better, I think, for a new way to empower civic and citizen expression and engagement. I'm really just trying to solve in creative ways the burden of accessing information, reflecting creatively and safely, and then engaging with performance, project management tools and mindsets that work.
Is this global, or is it in a certain community?
Right now, looking to start in Southern California as well as France. So I'm originally French, which my name may give away. And with there, kind of looking at doing something with the Summer Olympics in 2024, and looking at the values that the Olympics represent, and adding creativity there and dialogue and social initiative. So all that's being developed, I hope. That's that's my artistic as an artist, kind of creates something, and then there's a moment where people say this is why it was created, and a show can be put together, it can go on the road, all sorts of different things. So that's the book really served a huge purpose, to kind of just come out with it, and to invite us to consider citizening and good human optimal living as a creative expression and a creative endeavor with deep purpose, and whatever we can do to not just make it bearable, but to empower one another. So part of what I loved about what I've seen that you do, it is you're in the streets and your collective art, where you're feeding off the energy of other artists, or you're en plein air, as you say in French, right? You're literally with the elements. I think there's just so much there that if we started applying it to our social and environmental realities, that we would start to alchemize, come together, and it would just become less of a intellectual or watching the news, brainy kind of depressing, overwhelming experience.
I call that the art of expressive living,
There you go. That's exactly it.
which is the
That's
title of my
the
chapter.
book.
Yeah.
The romanticizing of it. I liked that aspect of your chapter as well.
Thank you.
Romance. I don't want people. It's not like roll your eyes and here are your candles and chocolates, and yet look at that. That what does that actually bring into a room in terms of environment and intention? It's massive. It completely changes everything. And so what would it look like to romanticize citizening, romanticize, especially on that daily ritualistic level?
Well, here's like a little tiny example of that. So I'm also an early childhood teacher. So today, and I teach in Florida, which brings me back to Florida from all my travels. I have 5 students. I'm going to have 6 at a school on a lake, kind of in the woods. Okay, and it floods pretty easily. Today we had the biggest rainstorm, but and it's the first week of school. So, and I work with like 5-year-olds who can tend to be anxious and scared. So I romanticized it by saying, we are going to have so much fun getting wet, because we had to go to dismissal and we had to like go under the trees and it was lightning and thundering. And I just was like, we're gonna get wet and it's gonna be so fun. And then your mom's gonna pick you up. Everything's gonna be fine. So nobody was scared. When we got wet, they all were laughing and giggling, and it was just the best time because it was romanticized instead of it being like a scary situation. They were all
okay. Put your cover up like all these 5 things that are stressful that needs to happen in order to safely enter into the natural rain.
Yeah, we didn't have an umbrella. We didn't have raincoats. I just was like, okay, we're gonna walk. It's not a big, nobody cared, and they didn't care because earlier in the week, I think we were sitting outside and it started just drizzling, and I was like, doesn't it feel so good because it's been so hot here? Doesn't it feel so good to have the cool rain? And so that's part of like romanticizing, especially for the kids. You know, the world's okay.
What I hear there, if I were to apply it to like dealing with a social or political or environmental issue, is when it started raining, it was kind of unexpected. And y'all had to quote unquote experience it, deal with it. There was somewhat of a challenge. And, even right there, an unexpected piece of information or occurrence that we learned. Our conditioning at this point, I think for most of us, is either to avoid or to dramatize or to whatever. And it's not to go forth into it, accepting, and also with like, well, what could possibly take place in order for this experience to feel funner, more creative, so that it doesn't become overwhelming and a scary thing, because yes, it will rain again, and yes, there will be more information. So there's a positive resiliency practice there, that as humans, our ability to be creative and to romanticize is, our one of our biggest superpowers. But doesn't just belong when we're having a creative moment, time to paint, time to this. And I think that's the power of this book, is to really open it up to really helping us all realize it's important to cultivate the inner artist in us, whether we actually are considered artists in terms of what we create in the world. There's an artistry to everything.
So tell me, what you talked about filling a couple seats, like a creative seat and an athletic seat. That's the two I remember. What would be the role of that? What does that look like? How does that happen?
That's a great question. So the model I'm inspired by is part think tank that I was inspired from the Mind and Life Institute, where interdisciplinary individuals are invited to have a think on a focus and a theme. And then it functions a little bit like a steering committee where, whether we get together, like a board, you get together once a month or twice a month. And the advisory board, each seat comes forward with their area of expertise. And so on the creative seat or the athletic seat or the contemplative seat, whoever's in that seat that month is coming forth with their network as well as their practice. And as a board, we agree and discuss, okay, well, what is it that we want to offer publicly this month or in the next 3 months? So this is a startup, so there's initial decisions and choices there. And from a programmatic perspective, what I'm bringing forth in my seat from the creative expression seat is a couple of the program tools and engagements that I've begun exploring. So to answer your question, each seat as we gather, initially we would consider, well, how would this fit into a happy hour format, a power hour format, virtually in community? And just real briefly, happy hours can have alcohol, not have alcohol. It can be in the morning, it doesn't have to be in the day. But at some point there's a 20 to 30 minute moment of time that is filled with an activity, with content. And so that's where essentially each seat member is advising and bringing forth content for those 20 or 30 minutes, is helping to bring forth initial facilitators as we design and determine what kind of facilitators can we train, can we bring forward. But initially it's really to help bring forth content that then gets curated, and that we begin this new ritual and getting feedback from the first people who show up. I really liked going to a happy hour once a week, once a month. I liked it being also virtual. I liked having, the opening 10 minutes being creative. I liked having every final 5 minutes being a gratitude practice in silence, like those different kinds of tools. I appreciated getting an update on war, the environment, and all of that. So that's what we're experimenting with, very deep expertise, bringing our best tools. And from the athletic perspective, that goes into performance. Because when you gather at a power hour, happy hour, then it becomes a group experience, right? How are we breaking to get or coming together as pairs in a breakout session? Are we creating accountability partnerships where people engage to move a project forward? So it's an experiment with basic engagement protocols, as well as some innovation there.
It sounds a little bit similar to what I'm launching in September, which is it's called Mindful Mondays.
Ooh,
and so
love it.
Every Monday evening, we're going to gather virtually. And we're going to have, it's mindful, like a little bit of an opening, and then painting, and then a closing. So it is something that I'm launching. I've been working on it, and it's not that I don't do it all the time. It's just formalized to where I'm inviting people and they're showing up, and it becomes a ritual. And so there might be artists there, or there might be other types, but it's mostly for artists. And it's just a time to get together and meet with people around the world, because it is virtual, and there might be a little bit of artistic technique conveyed, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. So they're not lessons, but we're just all showing up being creative. So it's kind of similar in a way without all the structure of.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what I hear there, what I would love, first of all, is to basically offer that to non-artists.
Yeah.
And so that would be an easily, we, me, what are you calling yours?
Mine is Mindful Mondays.
A we, me, mindful Monday happy hour experience where people would come together. And the other aspect of it that I would like us to bring forth, and it was definitely part of the intention of the Creative Lifebook, is to elevate the role and power of artists and creativity in society and as economic worthy participants, and to elevate the status. So for that, I would love the power hours and happy hours that we take it out for nonprofit and corporate sponsorship, so that, yeah, there you go. You have a weekly virtual offer that merits some financial support so that a whole bunch of things can happen. If nothing else, that you were paid as a program leader and a facilitator. And so that's also part of my vision, is to really start creating these economic models and opportunities for so much of what we do for free out of the creative love of our hearts and ability. But the truth is that when I look and think about the future, not just myself and you, but what kind of legacy are we creating? I think we need to be in the place of creating future jobs, so that at minimum, our future part-time jobs in the space of content curation, creative expression, and gathering is a legitimate need that we have to help us do all that we need to do and be creative. And it's not just be a part-time Uber driver or Starbucks employee. And that these should be some of the most well-paid jobs, because they have such a vital, it's like the way teachers aren't paid well, that's not right. Someone who helps people have a creative expression, that then they go back into their lives more relaxed, elevated,
Not frightened.
it should be paid as much as a doctor.
Yeah.
So let's at least start going in that direction, and even ourselves be mindful of how often we gather for very little. So holding that space.
Yeah. We're running out of time, but I wanted to let you, if you have anything else that you wanted to let our listeners know, do that now.
Well, the big invitation is to go to Linktree /We Me Action, or the website, which is wemepeople.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Veronique Marchal. And if anything I said inspires you or you'd like to be a part, this is it. It's being seeded. So the seeds are being planted for the We Me People Planet Collaborative.
I want to be on the creative seat. I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
There you go. It just started. That's it.
Yes.
Love it. Okay. So that's it.
Okay. And I'll put all that in the show notes so people can refer back to it. I want to thank you so much, everybody out there, for watching and listening, as I share my love of fun. I share my love of fun, connection, collaboration, and art. It would be great if you subscribe so you can hear more content like this. Being a facilitator of conversation, I pose open-ended questions, and then the conversation just kind of flows from it. And I kind of never know where it's going to start or where it's going to end, but I'm always so tickled and surprised where it goes, just to open it up and let it out. So thank you so much again for joining me today. And don't go anywhere, but I am going to sign off with everybody else.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And thank you so much, Caroline. I loved this creative flow. We didn't predetermine questions. And it was actually the first time we were meeting. This was really great.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.